and turned around.
Oh, we have a job to do.
Job? This is a pleasure yacht. You're weekend sailors, not the bloody Navy. And a man your age.
Men my age dictate this war. Why should we be allowed to send our children to fight it?
You should be at home!
Well, there won't be any home if we allow a slaughter across the channel.
This was a very different film for you this time around. Some people were saying, really? You know, set in World War II, this kind of movie? Who's going to go? Pretty much the whole world went. Did that surprise you that there was such interest in this movie?
When we first thought about making this film, one of the reasons it really appealed to us was that it just felt like a story that hadn't been told, and we couldn't quite understand why it hadn't been told, given that it had such a universal sort of themes that we felt could appeal to anybody. I mean, it just seemed like such an amazing and inspiring story. If I sort of think back to our initial instincts, I would say, no, I'm not surprised. But then, of course, you get into making the film and you realize that, oh, it's an English story. There's no real names in the cast. Most people here didn't even know what Dunkirk was.
In England, the term Dunkirk spirit is like every school kid knows it, even if they don't know where it came from or what it means. Around the world, not as much on this. And this movie is sort of like showing you this incredible operation that took place.
I'm very gratified that people understand sort of what a pivotal moment it was in the Second World War, in the sort of the world's history. And one of the things I love about the film, when I first watched it, well, probably when I first read it too, I just felt like this is a very different film for him to make. It's a different world. It's a period movie and so on. But he's made it his own. You know, there are elements that may seem familiar from other movies you've seen in the past, the sort of historical war aspects, but it's very much a Chris Nolan movie. And I think that the extremely risky and experimental time structure is a big part of that, and it's a big part of why you're sucked into the movie. You know, you're sort of in it with the characters in their different areas. When I watch the film, I don't think of it as it has all the trappings of the war film. It has the sort of, cosmetically speaking, it looks like it, but to me, it's very much, it's all about how we're going to get those boys off that beach. It's the survival. It's the suspense. It's the thriller aspect. It's it's all about how on earth they're going to survive and all the sort of elements that go into that.
Hoyte, you're working with the biggest cameras around. You're working with IMAX cameras. 70% of this movie was actually shot with IMAX cameras. It's been projected in 70-millimeter film on IMAX screens as big as possible. When you're talking about actually a small, intimate idea that is epic, and you're the cinematographer here, 3 different kind of time periods. Talk about the challenge of that.
Well, I mean, the challenge, the first challenge with the big cameras is that we didn't want to be in too much awe of the size of the cameras and of the, what those cameras meant, but we really tried to sort of, engineer and think of how to apply those cameras to very intimate situations. Before, it was very seldom that people would make close-ups on big screen formats, and people would always connect this format with vistas and with big and epic, and I think we put a lot of energy in it to bring it into tiny spaces and tight spaces, and use it as some sort of an instrument to, communicate very intimate situations with as well.
Truly, only Hoyte could have shot this movie. I mean, it's really incredible what he and his crew did in terms of lugging those cameras around, shooting on a beach with sand blowing and salt water. I mean, it was the most challenging of conditions, but everyone just knuckled down and did it. It was amazing.